Hi guys, welcome back. I think that most of us would like to know that after this is all said and done, our perpetrator is going to pay for what they did. And I'm sure that's why a lot of you have asked me whatever happened to the boss that discriminated against me. I've been dodging that question because I don't love the answer. But you keep asking, so today I've decided to come clean and tell you everything I know about what happened to my boss. Because you guys need to see that any justice we get out of the EEOC process is imperfect at best. And as we go through, I'm going to share how I made my peace with what happened in the aftermath of my case, because I expect one day a lot of you are going to have to do the same thing. I'm going to try to keep it as professional as I can, but I may have to smack talk my boss a little bit to answer this question, so bear with me. First, just to give you a little background, I had worked for my boss off and on for almost 10 years when my discrimination happened. We clicked right away and we worked really well together. And I considered her a friend, although I always knew she was in charge. I knew how she liked to do things, and I had a lot of respect for her, both professionally and personally. Most of my coworkers didn't feel the same way. In the U.S. Office of Personnel Management's annual employee feedback surveys, NASA was almost always named the best place to work in the federal government. But according to that same survey, within NASA, my boss's work group was one of the worst. Now, I usually got most of my work done during my normal workday, but I often stayed over to help my boss after hours with her work. Now, Doug says that when I had to start prioritizing my own health and stop working all those extra hours to help her with her work, that's when she decided to trade me in on a new model rather than helping me continue to do my job. I didn't see that at first, but now I do. And I also think the fact that I didn't look disabled, whatever that means, convinced my boss that I was faking. And she dug into that belief so hard that no matter what documentation I took her from my doctors, she wouldn't even read it. And no matter how nicely I asked for reasonable accommodation, she wouldn't discuss it. She should have known better. She's in a protected class herself, and I know for a fact that she experienced discrimination herself because she told me so. But she never complained about any of her discrimination. She said she was too worried about the retaliation, and she had a point. I mean, that was the NASA culture. And apparently that strategy worked for her because by the time my discrimination happened, she was an official candidate for senior executive service at NASA. And SES is the highest rank you can get there. I did report it. And it took almost 6 years for EEOC to resolve my case and decide that what my boss did was illegal, deliberate, and so egregious that it warranted a maximum non-pecuniary award. And on top of that, EEOC recommended both remedial training and discipline for both my boss and NASA's diversity manager. NASA sent them to the training, but declined to discipline either one of them. Making my peace with that part was fairly easy because, frankly, that's what I expected. I mean, NASA had their backs all the way through the process. Why would that change as my case was wrapping up? And from a business perspective, NASA had invested a lot of money in her professional development. She was an SESer from a protected class. I was a retired staffer. After I retired, I really didn't follow what was happening at NASA for quite a while. I just couldn't. But a few months into my retirement, I got a phone call from an old coworker letting me know that my boss was being sent on a temporary assignment to be on the staff of one of the most notoriously difficult and demanding managers at NASA. And that made sense to me because I'd seen NASA make other managers who discriminated do the same kind of penance. Now I hope that assignment and the experience of being on someone else's staff taught my boss a thing or two about how to treat her own staff better. But I have my doubts. Because as soon as she got back from that assignment, my installation made her their literal poster child for diversity. They hung huge pictures of her smiling face in just about every building on site. And they wrote glowing articles about how much she'd done for protective workers. They didn't mention the fact that there was an open EEOC complaint against her at the time. After that, it took a couple years for my hearing to wrap up and all the appeals to get turned down and for NASA to decide to actually pay me. And almost immediately after they paid me, I got another phone call from a coworker letting me know that my boss had just been promoted into that SES position she always wanted. And around the same time, NASA revamped its entire EEOC program. The best I can tell, the new program makes it a lot easier for other managers to do to their workers what my boss did to me. Wrongfully accuse us of misconduct or performance problems and use that as justification for trampling on our rights. And on top of that, at my installation, the person they put in charge of this new program was the same old diversity manager who threatened me and made my boss the diversity poster child. That's how NASA went about making the system better. They made it better for them. Am I surprised by that? Hardly. NASA managers have never believed the rules applied to them. And if losing 2 space shuttles hasn't taught them better, I don't know that anything ever will. So that's what's happened so far as a result of my win. And it's disappointing, I have to admit. I wanted to make things better, and I don't think I've done that. But on the other hand, this process has taught me to rejoice in the small victories. And I have gotten some vindication. I got to see them squirm. Like during my investigation and my hearing when EEOC made them answer all the questions they'd never answer for me. And I got to see my AJ and later EEOC's Office of Federal Operations verbally spank them for all the bad faith they showed throughout my process. And as for my boss, there's still a lot of people at NASA who know exactly what she did. And thanks to the rumor mill, I'm sure all her adversaries know all about it too. And finally, for me, winning is the best revenge. Doug and I have the immense satisfaction of knowing that all the hard work and emotional energy we poured into my case paid off. And we beat freaking NASA. I mean, we can both be proud of that. And for our trouble, we also got a nice stack of cash. May not be exactly what I wanted, but I'll take it. See you guys next time. Till then, take care and hang in. Fight smart and hang in to win.